that a lot of our people don't see week in and week out. But you guys do so much for Vintage and for the Kingdom of God. Am I on like Facebook Live right now?
No, not YouTube. Nobody's watching it right now.
Oh, okay. I know that is because my kids come home and they talk about what is happening back here and what's going on and the things that they're learning, and they are learning stuff. So I know sometimes you walk away and you're like, I'm not sure what they picked up, right? But they are, and a lot of our kids are learning and growing and taking steps toward faith. And so honestly, just want to encourage you with that. Even though there might be days it seems like, what in the world did I just do? What happened? Did anything happen? Things are happening, and the ball is moving down the field with our kids. And so Nick asked me just to come and honestly encourage you guys and give you a little challenge. And I wanted to share with you what my kind of word is for 2020. Nick has heard this about 100 times already, and it's not going to change, and it's lead up. That's my word for 2020, lead up. And so when we're talking with anybody, I'm encouraging people to lead up. And what does that look like? I think the thing that it looks like is when you're leading or volunteering, whatever you're doing, you might initially begin to think, well, that's so-and-so's responsibility. That's so-and-so's job. Or, they don't ask me to do that. I was going to say they don't pay you to do that. Right? So they don't ask me to do that. And leading up says, well, it doesn't matter if I'm not asked. It doesn't matter if I'm not supposed to do that or whatever. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go above and beyond. And that I really do believe, like that's what each and every one of us have been called to do. And what I want to do just briefly is remind you of something that many of you probably already know about, a story in Scripture, alpha leader. But what I want you to do is I want you to see how Jesus leads up. Because it's counterintuitive, it's countercultural to what it looks like to lead up. But he did what that looks like. John 13, just in the very beginning, starting in verse. Now before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart out of this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. During supper, when the devil had already put it in the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going back to God, rose from supper. Now, real quick, John, in a matter of 4 verses, says a ton of stuff, right? Jesus knows it's the end. He knows one of his best friends is about to betray him. He knows the Father has sent him. He knows he's about to come and fulfill his mission. All of that in like 3.5, 4 verses. And look at what he does. He laid aside his outer garments, taking a towel, tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was wrapped around him. And I really think that that's the ultimate example of what it means to lead up. Jesus sees and knows everything that's about ready to take place, everything that everybody's going to see, and all of the stuff that's happening behind the scenes that no one sees. Jesus knows all of that stuff. And rather than like take charge or do whatever, he comes and he kneels down and he washes his disciples' feet. That, for me, is what it looks like to lead up. You walk into a room, you walk into a situation, and you immediately begin to think about, what can I do to serve? How can I serve? How can I love these people? How can I encourage these people? Think about the kids, right? You might not like come on a Sunday morning with like in the best state of mind, right? Or in the best place. But you're coming immediately thinking, how can I lead up? How can I love these kids? How can I serve these families? What can I do for these parents? And I just really want to encourage you to think about in your context how you are serving, how you are leading in kids. How can you lead up? How can you lead up by serving and loving like Jesus? Because here's the thing. If we have an army of people in our church that, yes, starts with the pastors, trickles down to our staff, trickles down to our leaders, and ultimately trickles down to our volunteers who are leading up by serving like Jesus. Our church is going to look different. And our people are going to look different. And when families and friends and kids and other people, other guests come into our church and experience that kind of environment, that's not normal. And when people experience that kind of love that only Jesus can give, that's when lives begin to be changed. And so I just want to encourage you, what you're doing back here matters. Lead up. And when you lead up, serve other people like Jesus served, and watch what God does through that. So thankful for each one of you. Thankful for the time that you invest. Let's continue to love Jesus, continue to love people. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you. And real quick, we're kind of doing this at a similar schedule of how we would do in the classroom, where we're going to have our different social time, where we're playing games, getting to know people, and then we're doing our circle morning meeting time, and then worship and the story and so that. So we're going to kind of go through it. So the first thing I want you to do is those sticky notes. If you see these, they are very solid. Supposedly you can go out in the rain and they won't come off. They'll stick to anything. We're going to find out. But you take, and you're going to need, each person, you need 2 of them. And what you're going to do on the first one is you're going to write it down, and y'all can discuss about this, but we're going to share with each other after, and real quick. Write down some ways that you can either, that you might overlook someone, or ways that you might make someone feel unimportant.
I know.
So whether it's on purpose or on accident. So on your first sticky, write down 1 to 3 ways on how you might either inadvertently or on purpose make someone feel unimportant or unvalued or overlooked.
This is an interesting post-it, right? It's like interesting. The teacher taper is distracted by
None of the pens?
They're just not new pens.
Well, no, I didn't do that. We got a lot of our little kids' closets.
They're out of the bottle, so we're writing away.
Just take about 1 more minute to write down your ideas.
Or
Put them aside and go away.
basically, how is one way you might hurt someone? Then there's a second part of it. Don't panic.
Is it 1 to 3?
Just one, and then get another post-it. Don't write.
All right, we're about to write on a second post-it in a minute, so you can get that one ready whenever you're done.
Oh, yeah.
As you're done doing that, you can still keep writing if you haven't finished, but share with the people at your table some of the ideas that you had. And then y'all are each gonna come up with one idea that you wanna share with the whole group. So each table is gonna share one idea with the whole group. But discuss with your table, share the things that you grouped down.
Sticky notes aren't sticky notes, they're not even sticking to the table.
Oh, well, let's see. This table, though, nothing sticks to it. This is weird.
Even crayons?
Crayon is the only thing, and we have to scrub that off. And we're not on the second one yet. Y'all are discussing the first one. So share.
All right, 30 more seconds of that.
But it's also hard when you're the only one who gets students, so like the others. That's hard, to have the videos for the time being. So, yeah.
Alright, so we're gonna go with around the table, starting this one, it's gonna go clockwise-ish. And just share one of the things that you wrote,
That I wrote or that someone at my table wrote?
either way. One person from the table will share. You're gonna be the spokesperson.
One more time.
We're gonna, each table's just gonna share one of their ideas, so we all
For how to-
discussed it. One of
How to
you
make
can
someone
speak
feel
up.
unimportant.
Right?
How
You
to-
share two and one. Oh, the same question you wrote down. You're just gonna share it.
Okay.
Alright, you guys, listen up so you can hear the other groups, please.
Yeah, explore our thoughts that we can ignore people and not reach out to them. Because we're focused on our own agenda.
No, they can't be funny.
Yeah, not remembering someone's name, kids of course especially love to remember the names, but even adults, I think find that important. You guys, what you got?
Do you want to share?
I don't know.
For instance, not including someone in something activity.
Yeah. No, that's you, trying to make sure you. Well,
Yeah, our table, we said, interrupting them when they're speaking, they might try to express an idea, and you might already have a different one, and you kind of like interrupt and show yours. Then it's like, oh, okay, that's my opinion.
yeah, that's you, that's good. Yeah.
We went with something that can be really unintentional. There might be a lot going on already and somebody walks in the room and you just don't acknowledge them. And it's really just because you're busy, but you have to be aware that that can still be hurtful.
What about y'all?
No, instead of ignoring somebody, just give it like kind of what they said, just
Yeah.
maybe ignoring.
And that's, of course, those are all things, we're not gonna get too deep on this, you guys understand, these are important things we don't wanna do to people, especially the children in our ministry. But now on your next one, I want you to think about ways that, the month that we're talking about, as you can see in the school age, the month is all about honor, honoring God and honoring others. And so think about 1 to 3 ways how you can honor someone, how you can, you know, very focused, go out and try to make them feel good about themselves. Even maybe if it's not simple and easy for you.
Make feel like it's better for me, easy for me. Like a honor for me, how the kid is with the kid.
Not the kids, right? And you can feel like you're very
Oh,
a kid or another person.
when you need to do that. We go with
Okay, so then again, to share that with your group, in about 30 seconds, we're gonna share with the larger group.
I have both to do this amongst us. I've been trying to do shout outs every week and I just had like verbal. I just want I think too, I would like
News
celebrate.
alerts. Yeah, and just like acknowledging the kids who are doing and like it's been
All right, now we're gonna go ahead and share, so please listen to other groups. Okay, y'all.
We just said, verbally recognize what they're doing well, like they're seen. for what they do.
And like you said, verbally is super important. You know, obviously body language, all that, but definitely being verbal about it.
I think if he
It's made a lot better. We said acknowledging someone's thoughts or feelings so they
Yeah, acknowledging their thoughts and feelings or what.
feel heard.
So they feel heard, right? Acknowledging the things that they're saying, like conversing with them, making sure that you know that that you understood them, heard them, asking questions about it. So what are y'all?
Praise
them for good things. Yeah, that's awesome, Nick.
All the way in the back?
Yeah, all the way back.
Alright, so we said acknowledging, someone's efforts, no matter how small their role is. So just, you know, stopping in the hallway, saying thank you, or asking the janitor how their day is. You know, it just, it goes a long way.
Yeah. You guys just-
Just paying attention, like if something's wrong, kind of getting on their level and really getting into like what's really wrong, so you can effectively, you know, just connect with them and make them feel better.
I was just sharing, like, I've been kind of personally challenged with this amongst us grown-ups in the room, and that's kind of why I started doing shout-outs every week in the emails, just because I want to honor you guys and acknowledge when y'all are doing something wrong. Not that you always are, but just to write it out is kind of nice.
And so this is just partially get us talking about the stuff, thinking about it, because this is super important, but it was also giving us an example of one of the many things. I know Bethany said she has some copies of things to kind of show you guys, because at each of our levels, age groups, we've got different versions of little small group activities, and they're gonna look different. Some of them, one of them, we had rubber bands, y'all would be running around shooting, making slingshots, but we cannot find rubber bands anywhere. So, but there's different things from very active, moving stuff to very thoughtful, get the kids thinking about stuff. And so we want you guys to see this as an example, but also she's gonna share with a few papers so that you can read through them. And as we're moving forward, we wanna take this stuff very seriously, because it can very open up some things that people could actually think about, especially the kids. Bethany's gonna go ahead and start us off with I'll move on to our next section.
So I just wanted to share with you guys, a lot of us are new here to Vintage or to vkids, and I wanted to do like a 90-second history of vkids. But basically, Josh Cook was the first like hired person to be in charge of vkids, and he's the one who went to Colorado and planted 12 Church, who Vintage still supports. But when he left, they tried to hire me to lead vkids, and I have always felt like God is calling me to like teach in the secular classroom. So I said, no, I'm not gonna take the job, thanks. But I will help, I will serve, I will volunteer as sort of an interim. That was 3.5 years ago. So finally this summer they started interviewing to have a hired staff, and we found Nick. So if you have not met Nick personally, you should, because he's awesome. He has a background in high school and secondary ed, and I have a background in kindergarten. So the two of us together are from opposite ends of the spectrum, but we're excited to be a new duo to lead you guys. And let's see. Like he said, we are going to do sort of the same schedule layout of the of each Sunday, like what you teach, like how we do our circle time in the morning and do a little activity like we just did, and then we're going to try and amp up to get ready to do some worship. So I'm going to go ahead into the. Do you want to go ahead into the worship next, or the And I was gonna do the curriculum later in that.
Yeah. And then, just as going with that too, we are gonna pass these out. They don't have to be filled out immediately. You could even take them home and think about them and fill out. But I just want to get us some information about you. If you came to Parent Equip Night, you may have written down some of this top information, and we wouldn't necessarily need that from you if you already filled that out. Mainly, we want to get some prayer requests, make sure we know everything about you guys, so we can be praying for you, encouraging you as far as different events going on. But also, I want to get some feedback on what you think about today specifically, but also just in general with the vkids ministry, so that we can continue to improve as we're moving forward with all this. And obviously, you guys are on the front lines seeing it, in action. You can see, okay, well, this really isn't working, or this is how we can maybe do this a little bit better. Sometimes it might just be a complaint if it's not working, but if you have ideas on how it could, that's even better. So I'm gonna pass it around in a little bit as well. But I just wanted to remind you a little bit, if you hadn't really had a chance to be in, during October, we had a month that was very focused on family in the gatherings, or the messages were all based off of the Shema. I wanted to read it to you, but it's in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4 through 9. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them, and this is where the series was named Impress of this. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, when you're walking along the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. And if you have any understanding of the way some very religious Jewish people still do, they'll have these things posted on their door frames about this, or they actually, some very, I can't think of the name of it at the very moment, but some of it actually will tie stuff on their wrist or ties it around their head as a reminder, very religious aspects of it. But the reality is, that's what we're doing, and we're here to partner, but we're going to talk a little bit about that as we move forward. We're partnering with the parents, but we're here to teach them what we're trying to, just be a reminder of you guys today of how the value of, as we're praying over the kids that we have, and the infants that we have in here, we're loving on them, praying over them, letting them know they have a safe place that they can be, is huge and valuable. All the way up to here, when you've got kids that are kind of basically going on to middle school and going on to learn a lot of things about the world, a lot of things coming from other examples, but we may be one of the only really positive Christ-like influences on them. And that's why it's so important that we do that. And so we are going to take a little moment just to worship. It is going to be based off of kids worship like they do in the thing, as long as this works fine. It was on my computer, of course, and I used my computer elsewhere, but looks like it's looking good. So this is the song. Yeah. This is the song that they would do once a month. I mean, every once a week, every month, for a whole month in this school age room. And then we have other songs, which I'm going to show you a little bit for the other kids as well. Feel free to get up and dance.
So this is the November song for school life.
And so it's referencing the honor, and it's based off of that stuff as well. She's getting into it. Okay, so I know you guys wanted to see the whole thing, but I also were trying to, not keep you here forever. So, I do wanna also just another quick, we don't have the videos for the kids yet, we're talking about it, the 2s through 5. But this is the song, and you can tell if you've gone through the message with them at all, it's all about being what?
Thankful.
Thankful, so that's what the song is about, of course. There's a nice little beat they can dance to. And we may also open up to songs that are not specifically orange as well.
Thank you, God, for everything. I wanna clap my hands, I wanna jump and dance, I wanna shout and sing. Thank you, God, for everything. Thank you, God, for everything you've done for me. I just wanna shout and sing. Thank you, God, for everything you've done for me.
So again, sorry to disappoint, not play the whole thing, but we do wanna, they give us a lot of resources with them, so we do wanna start using them well, but also we're open to other resources too. I mean, as far as songs, there's a lot of great songs, dance, zone that we do with stuff with the kids, like at home and stuff that I'll do with Ezra and Allie, and just some other things, and would love to hear some of y'all's ideas as well too. Because like I said, at the moment, we don't have the video for the little kids, which would be nice if we did. But we're also talking about, we're moving into now the story side of this thing. We just had the worship, now we're going to the story on our agenda, which is, for us, it's gonna be just kind of walking through some of the important parts that you guys need to know, especially if you haven't been doing these kids for a while, but also if you have, a good refresher. So we're gonna have all this available digitally, and we can give it to you in paper form as well. But just we just want to highlight a few of the important parts of it. If you walk through the halls here, you'll notice 4 giant words on the walls. Can anybody name those 4 words?
Oh, we need candy for this.
We do have-
I'll throw the candy.
What?
No, love.
Yeah, fun is one.
Love.
Fun, no.
Safety.
Safety is another
Oh,
one.
yeah, fun, safety, and our families.
No.
Jesus.
Jesus should be, but
Truth is one.
Oh, yeah, truth.
yeah.
Fun, safety, truth, and.
Partnership?
Yes, there
So we're
it
gonna
is.
walk through those 4 things and how they look like to us on a very practical level. Because those 4 things are, we know what they mean and blah, 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 but what does it mean to us as a church? But just before I get to that, I wanted to kind of just walk through, in the truth section, I wanted to kind of walk through the vkids, Vintage's mission and stuff, so that you can see how it connects. We all know that Vintage talks about that, we exist to do what? What are the 3 things that, they want us to do? I mean, the students have their version of it over here. The 3 things that Vintage talks about wanting to do.
Serve the city.
Serve the city,
Live the gospel.
live the gospel,
Be the church.
be the church. So Vintage is living the gospel, serving the city, being the church. Well, the kids is, they're learning the gospel. That's what we're doing. We're teaching them the gospel. They're loving each other, right? They're learning, they're figuring out how to do that, and then they're becoming the church. And so it's very similar, it fits in, but of course not exact word, but it helps us to kind of think about what are we trying to teach these kids? We want them to know Jesus and the gospel. We want them to learn to love each other, and we want them to become the church, because as they're getting older, like I said, sending these 5th graders into our students ministry, they're really starting to go out into the world, and they need to be the church to each other, but also to those around. And so, does anybody know what the 4 things that vkids love are?
God,
Love
leaders,
God,
each other,
love
each other, and having fun.
They love having fun. That's another one, and that one we don't hear more often, so I'm glad to hear that, this, we're gonna focus a little more on, but we haven't really talked about it so much in a while. So, Bethany is going to come talk about something else, but just as a reminder, the 4 words, you've got truth, safety, fun, and partnership. And we're gonna learn about those 4 things, but just before that, Bethany is going to talk about.
So, sure. You probably, if you've been here for more than a year, you have seen this many times, probably. But this is a vkids leader covenant. So what we ask is that everybody signs this. It basically is just the expectations that we each have of you as a leader, and it falls under, you'll see those 4 words again: truth, safety, fun, and partnership. So I just want to highlight a couple of things. I'm not going to read every little bullet point. But the very first thing at the very top under truth is that I, as a vkids leader, commit to pursuing a healthy relationship with God through prayer, scripture reading, and faithful V groups and gathering attendance. So what that means is we don't want you to just come here for vkids. We want you to grow and learn as well. So you are here, allowing us to pour into you and equip you. But we also want to see you like weekly engaged and involved in learning with other grown-ups and hearing the sermon and joining a V group if you don't have one already. And Nick and Weaver are good, great people to talk to about V groups if you are looking for a V group. Because I know in my life, V group is like my closest knit friends for sure. So basically, we're just asking you as the vkids leader to commit to those same 4 values: truth, safety, fun, and partnership. Under safety, we have submitting to a background check. So we still have some people who we need a background check. So Nick is going to be reaching out. We've got like a log of which ones we have and which ones we don't. So if we need information from you for a background check, Nick will be reaching out to you. So don't hang up on him, please. And obviously safety, we're going to jump more into this under the safety section in a little bit, but just being responsible and accountable with each other and not getting yourself into a situation. You don't do that. So just be thoughtful and make sure you are being safe and like the kids around you are being safe. And as best we can, we want safe rooms, safe hallways, physically and emotionally, just that everyone is protected and feels comfortable. Fun, never raising our voices, which I find very difficult because I'm a classroom teacher. So like my default is like, I'm gonna turn on my teacher voice. But we just like want vkids to always be perceived as like a fun space. We want kids to bring their parents to church because they don't want to miss vkids. And I can tell you like that I can tell that y'all are making it fun because kids do drag their parents to church. Like I see lots of parents who don't want to be here. They're like, yeah, my kid wouldn't let me miss vkids. Like I'm like, yes. So like we get to pour truth and fun into their lives, into the kids' lives, and then the parents are unwillingly receiving truth and love in the gathering. So that's just like the perfect picture, I think, of family ministry. And then down at the bottom, partnership. So we want you to partner with Vintage. If you haven't done the partnership class yet, that's next Sunday. They're actually having one as a part of the Connect track. So if you're like ready to sign up, that's what we call our membership. It's just partnership. So we would love for you to be a partner with Vintage. And then Nick is going to dive more into truth, and we're each going to dive more into each of these bullets a little bit, but he's going to take truth.
Perfect. And so, I know Will knows this answer, but what is the most important truth?
Jesus.
Right, we know Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through him. John 14, and that's what we're really just trying to open up the eyes of the students, of the children and our students to be able to see that, right? And so we're doing this in a way that when we're using the word curriculum, they have ways of us going about it. I'm about to show you that, because what we want to do is we want to teach them that God loves them. If you look at for the first look, which is the 2s or the babies to 5-year-olds, there's 3 like basic truths that they want them to understand when it's all over. Does anybody know what any of those are? Every month you'll see on the side of your curriculum that they will tell you what they are. Does anybody know what one of those basic truths the little ones are?
Jesus is your friend.
Yeah, Jesus wants to be my forever friend. Is the third one. Anybody know any of the other ones?
God is love.
Well, kind of. God loves me. Yeah. And it should, of course, the way they word it, if a kid can recite it, that's not a big deal. We just want them to know that God made me, that's the first one, that God loves me, and that Jesus wants to be my forever friend. And you'll notice that each month they base it off of that, like that's their basic truth. And then they also have a bottom line that they want the kids to say. So they ask them, they say, like this month it says, who can you thank for everything? And the kids respond with their bottom line, I can thank God for everything. And that's what they want them to know for that month. The basic truth is only those three, and each message has that one of those truths behind it. And then for the 252, which is the kids in here, it's a similar type thing, but there's three basic truths. And it's about like, I want to make wise choices, the basic wisdom. I should treat others the way that I want to be treated. And I can trust God with everything, through everything. And so those are the three basic ones that they're trying to get the older kids to see. And so they're teaching that, and it's all based off of that. And they'll have a different memory verse every month that they go through, and that we're going with. And what we're trying to do is get that in their face a little more. Like at check-in, we've got little versions of the memory verse, and we're trying to post them a little bit more often so that the kids can see them. But of course, we've got to be the ones to remind them, because just because it's on the wall doesn't mean the kid's going to hear or think about it, things like that. But just any way we can, we want to get them thinking about that Bible verse, because that's what we know is going to change the kids' hearts when they hear God's word spoken to them. And so there was just the verse that really came to me when I was just praying about thinking about what this is. It's in John. It was really in a couple of places, but specifically in John 21, chapter verses 15 through 17. But Jesus says to Peter, "Do you love me?" And he's like, "Yes. Well, feed my sheep." And they feed my. They say it's a little bit differently each time, but basically the whole point of him is saying, "Well, if you love me, then go and feed my sheep." And I can't think of a better example than that is than with the children that we're working with, because they need that guidance. They need someone to do that. And in a lot of cases, they may or may not have that at home in the same way, a very directed manner. I mean, of course, within the church, you would hope and you think that at least a large amount of them are getting it at home as well. But that's why it's so important that we are giving it to them here, because we've only got an hour a week with them, and then we've only got, on average, 40 weeks, 40 hours for the whole year, because kids come and go and on. They say the average for a church is 40 hours. So you've got 40 hours in an entire year to just love on these kids and administer them. That's why it's so important to make them feel special, to remember their names, to talk to them, and things like that. Because they will listen to us. The more that we know they care about them, the more that they will listen to us. And then as an encouragement, as we're moving into safety, just use every single opportunity, whether it is a discipline opportunity, love on them, show them why. And that's what some of those basic truths are for. It's like, we want to not do this because we want to treat others the way we want to be treated, because that's how we would want to, the way we feel, teaching them empathy, teaching them. So using, whether it's discipline opportunities or just loving on them opportunities and asking them questions. I mean, I've seen so many examples of this. I haven't gotten to hang out in the little ones as much, but I know in this room, so many of you have taken those times to just one-on-one, just love on that kid and use those opportunities. So I encourage you, just do it, because it's worth it. It is making an impact. So now Bethany with the boarding safety stuff.
Yeah.
Yay.
Y'all know it's my favorite. Okay, so we touched on background checks already, so if we need one, Nick will contact you. But when thinking about safety, especially at church, like as we are the church, we always want to think, how does this look? Because me, picking up Leonidas to take him out of the room because he was throwing a hissy fit last week. Like, I know that he needs a minute by himself, and like, I need to talk to him, and he needs to not be in this room of 25 kids screaming. But like, how does that look to a brand new mom who's coming here for the first time? Probably not my finest moment, right? So, you just always want, obviously, like Nick said, to love on the kids, and to like, even when you have to give them that tough love, do it, but also like be conscious that if a new mom is watching me right now, or a new dad or a new family is here, are they gonna wanna come back if they see me right now? So always be above reproach. Don't put yourself in situations that like I said, like you could be sued, because people be sue crazy these days. And they're like, some people, even in a church, you would hope like that people would just be better than that, but no, it's no. And for example, here's a story I told last year that people thought was amazing. There's this church, true story, not here, not in Louisiana, and this mom knew the nursery worker, the nursery volunteer, and she drops off her baby, signs her in, goes to gathering, and when she comes back to pick up the baby, the nursery worker is nursing her baby. And like, the nursery worker is like, oh, you know, I have a baby, if this baby doesn't have a bottle, that's fine, right? No, not fine. Don't do that. That church got sued. That lady got sued. So, you know, just like be smarter than that and don't mess other people's baby. If there is a scenario where like someone is actually physically hurt, like there have been instances where kids fall and hit their head and there's blood. Like generally if there's blood or if there is like a head injury, like a really bad one, we have incident reports in the check-in desk. So either send a leader or call the check-in lady or text me. But we'll get an incident report, and whichever leader actually saw what happened needs to like fill that out so we can keep it on file, just like I said, in case somebody be too crazy. So we keep incident report forms in the check-in desk always. And thankfully we don't have incidents like that a lot. And like most parents, like there was this one kid, I swear to you, 2 times got older in the school age room, like he twice like cracked his head on something. And both times I told the mom, and she's like, yeah, he's always hitting his head on everything. Like she was totally cool about it. I was like, maybe that may be a problem. But anyway, fill out an incident report form, and we still have those on file. Also under safety, the name tags. I grabbed the name tag in case this is, you know, we tried to get this rolling for a long time, but each kid has this number on the side of the name tag. So if there is an episode or an incident, or the baby is crying hysterically, unconsolably for 10 minutes or whatever, we take this number to the check-in team, or you can text it to me or Nick, and we'll flash this number on the screen, and the parents have a matching tag. So that way the parent knows like, uh-oh, my kid needs me, without us flashing their name to the whole church. So if ever you like need a parent, this is your code to get the parent to come back. Also, it's the code to make sure you give the right kid to the right parent at the end. So if ever you're like uncertain, or especially we've had Sundays where like mom brings the kid to vkids and she's like, hey, dad is here, but he does not have custody. Do not release him to his dad. Like, just make sure you ask for the tag for just an extra layer of security so that you can match, like, okay, parent has this number, kid has this number. Yeah, see. Okay, bathrooms is always a fun topic. So basically, you may or may not know, there were 3 bathrooms in this hallway. There is like a single bathroom at the end of the hall. That's like the family bathroom. So like as vkids leaders, like you personally can use that if you want, but like we don't usually send kids to that bathroom. That's like if a mom or dad comes back and takes them to the bathroom, they can use that one. Or if there's like an accident, a kid changes clothes, they can use that one. But the little kids, 0s to 5s and potty trainers, are going to the bathroom. There's a bathroom like between the babies and Two's room over here. So even the 4s and 5s can just like walk through a room and go take care of business. And if a child needs help, just like there's a half door, so just like leave the top half open, and like if you need to go in there and help with undies or potty training, if you're not a parent, what was the worst thing about parenting so far? But it's just don't be behind closed doors in a bathroom with a child. Like, don't put yourself in that situation. People can try to make accusations, and then you're gonna get sued. So don't do that. But this is like basically the toddler and pre-K bathroom, and then the big bathroom is for school age. And I'm okay, like if school age kids, like if you know they're not gonna run, because we do have some runners, but if you just like can stand in this doorway to this room and like just watch, and then make sure they get into the bathroom okay, and just like after a couple of minutes, maybe like pop your head in and say, hey, you need help in there? This room, usually they're big enough, they should not need help. But in case of an accident, we also contact check-in team. I think we do have a few changes of clothes. That's a new fun thing that's happened lately. We're also gonna send out like a finalized handbook of other things, but like basic things you need to know. It's like, don't administer medication, don't like, go into a bathroom with a child by yourself. And we'll send out the rest of the details in the handbook via email. Okay, next section, fun, yay. Okay, so rule number 1 is have fun and be kids, because like I said, kids are having so much fun that they're like, what do you mean we're not going to church? Like, no, one kid was going to Chicago, and he was like, I can't miss vkids. I'm like, oh, sweet. So mom was like, can I get the curriculum for that something right here? I'm like, do something with it. It's so sweet. But anyway, so I know that like kids are loving it, kids are having fun, and I hope that's encouraging to you too. The most important thing next to truth is just, like Nick said, to build those relationships, to take that minute out, to talk to a kid personally, to talk to a parent personally, and just, even on the days that like you didn't sleep last night, or your kid didn't sleep last night, and you didn't have time to look at the curriculum, and you were finishing a paper or whatever, like just sit down and get out a board game and like build the relationship. Because we have storytellers, we have video to tell the Bible story like on that day that you cannot handle it. But like you still are that human being in this room to pour into that child. And even if you like didn't look through any of this, like just be present, put the phone away, and be ready to like listen and play and have fun. I have another sentence I was gonna say, I didn't reach my brain. But okay, so I'm gonna pass out these, which are samples of curriculum that we used earlier this month from each age group. So most Sundays, I'm hoping you look at this before Sunday, because ideally when you get here at 8:30 or when you get to your room at 10:30, like this has already kind of been in your brain or is in your app in your phone, like me, and you can just like sit down and play with the kids and build that personal relationship. But I'm gonna pass these out, and they are all different. They're supposed to all be different, okay? So there's there's like one from the toddler and baby room, one from the 2-year-old's room, and one from the 3 through 5's room, which are not exactly how our rooms are, but you get the idea. And then one from the school age room. But I just wanted like each of you to take one and kind of look at each other's and compare, because I want you to see like how Nick was talking about. They each have a basic truth. They each have a Bible verse. They each have, even the baby one, like there's a bottom line. Can I split that one? Because I didn't make enough copies. Let me just do that table. Thank you. And but I'm just gonna give you like 3 minutes. Welcome. What? But yeah, I just want you to see like the basic truth, the bottom line is all there. And it also has yeah. It also has, especially if you're a sub, take a peek at every one of them. I don't know.
Interesting.
It's a little more selfish.
It's a little bit, well, but it fits the. Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like.
3 to 5 year olds.
Develop. What's your bottom line? I have a What's your basic truth?
God made me.
Mine is I should treat others. Which is interesting. Yeah, 30 more seconds. Because if you have percent God made me, God made everyone. So I'm gonna treat others. What's your memory lives? Love one another deeply, honor others according to yourself.
So yeah, I pretty much just want you to see like, there's a lot of similarities and also like, they even script out like exactly what to say. And a lot of the times, it's just got that, the bottom line is like built into the script. So you can just say it over and over and over. So like every time you see something, if the bottom line is, the bottom line today was, I can thank God for everything. And so it's like, anytime a child hands another child a toy, oh, you can thank him because we're talking about thankfulness and we can thank God for everything. Just as much as you can plug in that bottom line and that basic truth, the more you can repeat it, the more kids will hear it. And even if they don't, like, even if they're just memorizing it, hopefully then they'll like internalize it and understand it more. So I send out the curriculum. I need to send out next month's curriculum. I send out the curriculum every month. So if you are not getting it, definitely let me know. But it's available for you in case, or it's available for you to look over it before Sunday. That's the idea. And if you want to get the app, I will help people get the app after this. I'm gonna toss it to Nick for partnership.
Partnership. Who do you think we're partnering with? It's important to partner with Vintage as well, but parents, families, right? We're partnering with the parents and the families and Jesus so that we can minister to the kids most effectively, right? And so if you were around for the Impress series of the Parent Quiz Night, you probably heard us talking about orange, how the home is red, is like the heart, versus and the church is yellow like the light. And separately, they both have impacts on a child, but when they partner together, they make the most impact, which is orange. Red, yellow, combined make orange. And so a parent has, in theory, about 3,000 hours with their child a year, which is obviously a lot. Now, of course, we walk through with the parents, at an early age, it might even be more than that. And then it gets less and less and less as they get older because of school and because of their activities and going on, and it gets less and less. But in theory, with the kids that we're with, the parents are about 3,000 hours. And like I said, remember how many we have? About 40 with the kids. So that's not a lot, but we are very focused time. And that's why we want to get a little bit more clear cut with our agenda, our schedule. We want to make sure that we're doing things, using those minutes and those hours as effectively as you possibly can. And so, but with that partnership, I want you to think about that you guys are oftentimes one of the kids' 5. And what that means is that, again, with the sermon series Pastor Brick talked about, was that each parent should find 5 people for their kid that will tell that kid the same things that they would tell them. So I would find 5 people with like heart and like minds to myself to minister to Ezra and Alexandria in a way that maybe one day I won't be able to because they're not going to want to listen to me. They're not going to hear it. Because I can tell them something, but then someone else says it, and he's like, oh yeah, Miss Debbie taught me that, or Miss this person taught me that, and I'm like, I told you that 50 times.
Yeah.
But even at 3, he's already doing that, and of course it just gets more and more so, and that's why it's so important to have other people that are telling him the same things that you would tell him. And that's the key, because of course, every kid's gonna find these 5 of their own, on their own. They're gonna find friends and other people to minister to them. Just sometimes they're not ministering to them the gospel, and that's why it's so important that you guys realize that I can be one of the 5 for that kid. And in this case, for a few of them. And we are kind of playing around with how we're gonna do that within the confines of this room and the other rooms, because we do want you guys to develop specific relationships with specific kids. And the way that Orange does it with the small groups is they have like their team leaders, but then they have small group leaders. So each month, when you're on for 4 weeks, for those 4 weeks, you would have, in theory, have those same kids with you that you'd be ministering to, and then, a month off, they would be the same leader, and then another month with you, so that you're developing the relationships. Of course, again, ideally, we're just trying to figure out exactly how that will work, but the key is you're partnering with the parent to minister to those kids. And there's a handful of ways I want to kind of highlight where everybody from check-in to babies, you guys are partnering with parents, because for one, you may be the only person that a parent talks to when they come to church. They come in a little bit late, they kind of rushing out of there because it's nap time or this, that. You might be the only face that person actually sees. So if you don't talk to them, that's 0, nobody. So you check in from the very beginning, especially with new parents that don't know. We have to explain to them everything. We have to make them feel safe. We have to let them know that we know what we're doing. We're taking care of your children, and you can trust. You can trust us. And then you can answer questions. Find out their names. Obviously, I know I'm not expecting every single one of us to remember every single parent's name. It's not possible. But when we go to next gen, Ms. Penny, what do they recommend for you to do every week?
We said to interact with the students and find out something about them.
Yeah, find out a kid's name and something about them and kind of link those together. But like every week, they're not saying find out all 40 kids' names every week, but these 1 or 2 kids and they make her write down who it's gonna be, so that they hold you accountable a little bit. We're not gonna start holding you guys accountable on that, but I encourage you to also say hello to the parents, because from check-in, they do that, and then they come in here, whichever classroom they're at, we want to be able to look them in the eye and say hello to the kid, say the kid's name. When you remember a kid's name, it also touches the parent's heart. So it's maybe even less important that you remember the parent's name as it is the kid's name. So you say, hey, blah, blah, and then you say hello to the parents. At least give them an eye contact. Tell them you're glad they're here. Thank you for allowing bringing their kid in here or something. Just to have that touch, because again, that might be the only touch that they get the entire service, and that's going to affect whether they come back here or maybe whether they go back to church at all. And so it's super important that we make sure we make that opportunity. When they're dropping off, kind of just the way they talked about some of the ideas that said was introducing yourself. We have over there, we have like kind of your names on a green board, and some people, I've never once seen anybody look at that. Even though your name and info's on there, we're looking at playing around with that idea of how to put that maybe over here at each classroom so the parents can maybe see it. But also, just if you tell them your name, have your name tag on, but introduce yourself to them so that they can at least say they knew the kid, the person who's watching my child. So introduce yourself. Ask them if there's if there's anything that you need to know about their kid. Like, hey, is there anything important? Did they have anybody bad day or anything you'd like to tell us? Why are they upset? Because sometimes we get, I've only been over here in the back for a couple of months, and already at least half a dozen times, there's been kids who were just crying from the get-go. And whether it was a couple of times I was able to hold them and help them get more relaxed, a couple of times I was able to talk to the parent and just kind of find out more details about it. And you guys are the ones that need to be doing that, because they don't have anybody else. And I'm not back here all the time. And they don't have somebody there all the time to be able to do that. But finding out what's wrong. The parents oftentimes don't know, but they might have a little insight. But it just helps them to know that you care enough to ask them. And then also just, telling them to enjoy the service and, to relax and just have, enjoy themselves out there. And then on the pickup side, Same thing from check-in all the way to here, you're having that another little moment with them. You know, ask them what they liked about service, ask them a question, ask them if they got everything, you know, if they had any questions about, you know, this and that, like, hey, you have any questions about what we're doing here, you know, making sure that they get this stuff. Of course, I guess I have a sign up there, not to give the photos out till December 1st, because that's our Hall of Fame. But all the other stuff we do every week, we want to give it out, because at the end of the month, we're going to throw the stuff away. So we like the parents to be able to have that and know that we did things with them. And so you're talking with them, just giving them, you know, eye-to-eye contact, let them know, hey, you know, maybe you remember one thing. Like I remember Gideon the first time I met Gideon, he was over here and he was just trying really hard at this little activity we were doing. And he just got so excited when he finally got it. He was a little on the younger side compared to some of the other ones that he was working with. And he finally got it, and he was just so excited. And so I just shared that with his dad. You know, and his dad's a nice guy, if you guys know Jeff, but I had not met him at the time. And so it just, you know, you could tell he was just excited to hear that about his son. And again, then I recognized something. And then you guys, as you're recognizing, I know you are. I know you're working with those kids. If you could just tell the parents, that way they know. They know that you're building that relationship with the parents. Again, making sure they get all those papers and things like that. And again, one little final thing to remind them is say, hey, we'll see you next week. Or even asking them, if they enjoyed service, or asking them, hey, we'll see you again next week. Making them think about that at least. Stuff like that. So just some ideas, and we'll kind of keep giving you ideas like that as we research and figure them out. But just some simple things. I know it can be like one thing added on to another, but if you really look at it, it's a lot of simple things. We just want to do those things well. And Bethany kind of got into it. We do want to teach truth. That's one of the most important things to do, but we have to build a relationship. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to necessarily say one's more important than the other, but they are both very important, and it's okay to lose one for the other here and there, as long as it's not always pushing the truth away and just focusing on having fun and being wild. Just going back and forth, making sure that we're well-rounded in that. But I just as an encouraging word, I know I've seen you guys building those relationships, loving on the kids and getting to know them. I want the parents to know that, and I can tell them. But I say, oh yeah, I saw blah, blah, blah. But if you're telling them, it's so much more important, because you're the ones that are actually having those relationships. And parents, believe me, they want to know. A lot of you are parents. I know you want to know if someone's, learning about your child and loving on or ministering to it. I know all the parents out there want to know that as well. They want to hear nice things about their kids, especially when all they're usually hearing is, we had to call you again, or they're fighting about this or that. Find those positive things that you can share about him. You know what? He was super nice to his brother today. His brother was mean to him, but he actually responded in kindness, and he honored him in some form of way. Showing them that helps them to, I think, even love on their own children a little bit better, because they're not thinking, oh, I gotta go discipline them again. We don't want them to think like that, because again, we're here to have fun and build those relationships. We are moving forward, and we are gonna, we're almost done. So we are gonna break up for just a few minutes into two different groups. Bethany's gonna take, where are you gonna take them?
I'm gonna take,
Where, physically?
just, they're going across, right?
No, they're not. So you're gonna get the 2s and 3s. So physically, she's gonna take half of y'all, and there's a couple things you do. She's gonna run over some more specific things to the 5 and under group. School lady is gonna stay in here with the check-in as well, and then so the babies and 2 to 5 are over there.
And I'll take the subs, too, so like if you're a
What's that?
Someone who fits in wherever she's needed as a substitute. And so the 2 things we're gonna do is go over a few little things, but also we've got some lists of kids' names who have been here. So like this one list, and I'm not expecting you to go there, but this is a long list of kids who have been here in the past 3 months. It's a lot of kids that have been here throughout, and you guys have touched. If you want to see this and think about it, I encourage you. But it's a huge list of kids who have been here. But just this past week, this is the list of kids who were here last week. I don't have one for this week. And then I have another list of kids who have been here the past, I think just the past 2 or 3 weeks or something. But just to get some names to be praying over, and with the groups, we're gonna pray over some of the kids that are on the list, but also ones that come out and that come to your mind and stuff. So,
Oh, I have. Is this the comprehensive list? I think that's my box.
so you, all of you vote if you're substitute or pre-K through, babies, go across, and then we're only gonna be another 5 to 10 minutes for this prayer and stuff like that.
Okay.
Ready to bring this?
Okay.
But if y'all wanna kind of pull a little bit closer, would be good, because we're all gonna pray and stuff.
Check-in, stay here, school age check-in.
For the